everyone, my name is Sakshi Sehgal and I'm a current Penn student. Very excited to tell you a little bit about my journey to Penn, my experiences there so far, academics, extracurriculars, the community that I experienced, and hopefully give you a little bit of a better idea of what being at Penn is like, at least through my eyes, and hopefully just provide you a little bit of sense of what the university is like and what the different aspects of it are from a FGLI student's perspective. So first of all, I just want to say I'm really sorry that many of you weren't able to experience our lovely campus in person. Of course, this is totally unprecedented, but I'm really excited to be doing this to just provide you kind of a sort of glimpse along with the other ambassadors from the University of Pennsylvania into what our experiences so far have been like. So to just provide a brief introduction, I'm a current second year and I'm pursuing a bachelor's and master's in philosophy on the pre-medical track. And I am originally from Atlanta, Georgia, and I went to a public high school, so I went to Shanley Charter High School, and when applying to colleges, my whole idea was to just go where I could get the most money. So I know I wanted to apply to a variety of different places, geographic locations, like small town, large city kind of vibes, just a whole host of different experiences that I was open to, and open to realm of possibilities. And fortunately, I had the chance to visit Penn after I was admitted, fortunately, through regular decision in April. And I kind of knew instantaneously being on campus that the ambitious energy, kind of this infectious vibe of students, passionate about a whole host of things, really struck a chord with me, especially as someone who wanted to pursue STEM education as well as a liberal arts curriculum. And so I would say that, my Penn experience has definitely, in one word, been described by intersectionality, whether that be with my academic experiences, with the extracurriculars that I'm part of, or just kind of the different identities that I associate myself with at Penn. So I'm going to kind of break down the things that I talk about into a couple of different areas. So we'll go ahead and start with resources. So as a FGLI student, I have felt very supported at Penn since day one. Quite literally during a new student orientation, first gen low income students were invited a day early for NSO. And we were provided, with a very warm welcome, informing us of all the different kinds of resources that we could expect to be involved in and to benefit from at our time at Penn. And one of the first things that I was involved in at Penn actually was Penn First, which is Penn's premier first-gen low-income student organization. So that has been kind of my most strong involvement since freshman year. So last year I was the freshman liaison. This year I've served as mentorship chair. And the entire time I've just been so fortunate to connect with other FGLI students to kind of really develop this portion of my identity, as well as to closely work with administration on FGLI initiatives. Along the same lines, I've also been able to benefit from a wide variety of FGLI resources. So I've really appreciated, for instance, having a FGLI library where FGLI students can get books. The Greenfield Intercultural Center, abbreviated as the GIC, we love our acronyms at Penn, is a great kind of very homey space with staff and faculty dedicated to minority and FGLI students to be able to reach out to them. Penn also has a new administrative FGLI office. It's called Penn First Plus, so those are resources available. And I think just the FGLI community, whether that be embedded in, Penn First or FGLI Q, or any of our wide variety of FGLI student organizations, is that there's a community of students there that are like you, that you can, learn from, have a community with, and just be able to share your highs and lows with. So I think that's been probably one of my biggest, if not the most important resource that I've used during my time at Penn. I would also say that I've benefited definitely from a wide host of campus-wide resources. So, for instance, the ones that come right away to mind are, as far as health goes, to have CAPS, which is counseling and psychological services for mental health and emotional well-being, as well as student health services, so SHS for your physical health. But I think there's also a wide variety of other resources that students sometimes maybe don't consider coming in. So the Weingarten Learning Resources Center is actually a center dedicated to learning how to study for a school like Penn. So when I was struggling with, Chem 101 as a first semester freshman, my first go-to office was Weingarten to figure out, okay, how can I organize my study schedule? How can I manage my time better so I can, prioritize my studying for this class? How can I reach out to professors, especially because oftentimes for FGLI students, it's so hard to kind of establish that rapport with TAs or with professors. So it was amazing to be able to use that resource. I've also used the Tutoring Centers since my first semester at Penn, and so I've really relied on having upperclassmen peers, especially in science courses or math courses, for instance, to talk to about orgo or about biology, especially learning from peers who have taken the classes with the same professors or who have similar experiences has been really, I think, helpful in a wide variety of ways. And finally, I would say the libraries. There are several Penn libraries dedicated to a whole host of different subjects. So we have, for instance, a very specific biomedical library or a physics and astronomy library, But for me, I think the library has just been like a home for studying, a home for resources for research papers, but then also very importantly, like faculty who are truly there to help you, and who are especially very supportive during finals. So it's something that you can definitely feel during times when a lot of students are stressed. And so to find that kind of community in a space like a library is just amazing, out of school. So I would say overall, I think what I've appreciated most about Penn is the resources and is the availability of faculty, staff, and just, physical support there for you. So I've never felt as a FGLI student that I wasn't adequately supported at Penn. I would also say the academics are something that, is very unique at Penn, but I think the one word that I would use to describe Penn's academics in general, or my experience as a student in the College of Arts and Sciences, is flexibility. So there are, when you peruse the college website, for instance, there are, a whole host of requirements for the different schools. As a college student, for instance, I have to do my general education requirements, have to do my major requirements, have to do free electives, which at first can sound daunting. But really, it's so easy to, double count things or to have conversations with your major advisor once you declare in sophomore year about, courses that you might be interested in pursuing that fulfill a couple of different requirements. But really to just be able to kind of fulfill all your intersectional interests. So as I mentioned before, I'm, doing a humanities major, but I'm on the pre-medical track. So I think the best part about the academics at Penn is that it allows you to create a very customized, individualized plan for yourself, and to have the flexibility to complete all these different, areas of interest of mine, and to be able to do well and have a rapport with all these different kinds of fields and professors at Penn has been truly amazing. So the one general requirement that students in all four schools, so the college, engineering, the Wharton School of Business, and nursing, have to complete is a writing seminar. But beyond that, each of the schools have their own requirements. So I would say consult your specific school for those requirements, but just know in general that there is tremendous amount of flexibility for you to take classes across schools, for you to take, minors in other schools, for you to pursue a whole host of different concentrations and minors and, concentrations within majors, or just take classes for, your own benefit, and really benefit from the whole host of subjects that the liberal arts curriculum at Penn has to offer. So there are, I would say, for first year students, many kind of conventional introductory classes that students take. So, for students who are maybe interested in being pre-med, of course you have, Chem 101, Bio 101 or 121. A lot of students who might be interested in taking a more economics oriented path will take Econ 1, or Math 104 or 114. And so those are your bigger lecture classes, but I would say don't let the bigger lecture format make you think that this is what, a lot of your classes are going to be like necessarily. I think once you declare your major and once you take more classes within a field and have the prereqs needed to take the higher level classes, the class size also gets smaller. So as I mentioned, as a, philosophy major, now that I'm in a program, so I'm matriculating, but also just as a philosophy major, I'm able to take more advanced seminars that are really 5 to 6 students or 10 students, or, a very personalized format for those classes. And those sorts of seminars are available in a whole host of fields, not just humanities. So I would say, with regards to your relationship with your professor, it is something that I didn't do as much as I should have freshman year, but it is very easy to reach out to professors if you're struggling. I think I was initially just kind of worried that there was, that I shouldn't ask for help if I needed it, or professors in large lecture classes wouldn't be as available. But I think it quickly became obvious to me that I would need to kind of consult professors one-on-one about things that I was especially struggling with. And the great thing is, in a lot of those larger lecture classes, you have TAs that you can go to, so the teaching assistants, who can help you understand particular concepts. But I think it's best to start that early. I wish I had started going to office hours and reaching out to professors via email first semester, because not only have they become super helpful in the classes, but also after the classes as useful mentors, research guides, and just people there who genuinely want to see you succeed. I would also say it's been really nice to be, within the community at Penn that I've found, because it's kind of naturally led to study groups. So for instance, since a lot of students start off on a conventional pre-med track, inevitably you'll have, within a class kind of like the same general groups of students in some of the sections. And so I've naturally found like a couple of friends of mine who are in the same general kind of track. And so we are often in the same class or like maybe a different section. And so it's really nice to be able to kind of meet up collectively and do our Orgo homework or kind of talk about our difficulties in Chem 102, for instance. For me, I feel like it was harder at the beginning to figure out, where best to study or what the best places on campus are where I can really focus. But I think now I would say definitely like any one of the Starbucks, like early mornings, I'll be at Stahman's, which is the Starbucks under Commons, one of the dining halls, or like Van Pelt Library. I'm often there really early in the morning, has been one of my favorite places to study. I think there's a lot of access not only to people resources, but also to these physical spaces that you can use 24/7. So Van Pelt Library's bottom floor, ground floor is 24/7. And so to be able to have the flexibility of not only like coffee shops like Starbucks, for instance, but also like actual library spaces whenever I want to study has been tremendously helpful. So I would say the favorite class that I've taken so far probably was my Topics in Ethics seminar from last semester. So it was entitled Food and Fat, and it was just topics in ethics regarding the topic of obesity. So it was a philosophy seminar taken kind of from a more scientific outlook, like a more scientific perspective on it, and it was this like perfect amalgamation of my two interests, combining like an ethics-oriented perspective with like STEM. And I really enjoyed being able to take the class in a small seminar format. And I really, benefited, I think, from having like a different variety of perspectives and having our professor actively like encourage us to kind of voice those maybe like unpopular perspectives and really just learn as a class. So I think there are different, people find their niches in a whole host of things. And I think that's the beauty of it, is to be able to, be close friends with people in engineering or in Wharton who've kind of found their niche in the English department or the, Jewish studies department. It's great to have that kind of connection with people. I would say in terms of study tips, it depends class to class and person to person, so it's hard to generalize in any kind of way, but I think it's really useful to, again, kind of do the general things. Reach out to your professor early if you feel like you're struggling. Make sure you go to all the recitation sections. Often those have been sometimes even more helpful, especially around exam time. I would say at a school that offers this many resources, it's best to use all of them that you can, especially as a FGLI student, if you feel like you're behind in one of the classes. And then to just create study groups with people, because it kind of works twofold. Like, one, you have study buddies for a class when a test is coming up, but two, sometimes it's just nice to know that you're not the only one struggling with the concept, and that you're not alone in any of this. So as far as extracurriculars go, I've been involved in a bunch of different things since the beginning of my time at Penn. They've kind of naturally kind of progressed in different directions since the beginning, but I've just been so passionate about a whole host of things, and kind of the, as I mentioned, the ambitious, like infectious energy that initially drew me to the school has kind of stayed with me since in terms of like my extracurricular involvements. So I primarily am involved with Penn First. I'm the mentorship chair for that this year, Global Women Empowerment, which I'm the co-president of, as well as Penn Undergraduate Healthcare Council, which I'm also the co-chair of. So those are like the main, I would say, like leadership positions that I've taken on in these clubs, but really it's just, those are the clubs that I've been most involved with since the beginning of freshman year. And besides that, I'm also involved with Phi Sigma Biological Honors Society, which I'm the recruitment chair of. I serve as a peer manager for the peer advising program, which is also a wonderful resource for students in the college, as well as I work outside of school. So I'm a research assistant at a cognitive neuroscience lab. I'm the Wellness Walk Initiatives coordinator at the Center for Public Health Initiatives. And I also work on the side as a research analyst at PharmSpective. So kind of doing a bunch of different things really, but the clubs that I got involved with on Penn's campus really stem mainly from what we have, which is called the Student Activities Fair. And so that happens twice a year. The biggest one is in the fall. And you'll see that in your first couple of weeks on Penn's campus. It's basically kind of this like the myriad of groups at Penn, like literally anything you can think of is going to be lining Locust Walk. So Locust Walk is kind of like the vein of campus, I like to think of it. It's like the central kind of road that goes down the campus. And I would say 600 to 700 clubs easily lined Locust Walk last fall. So basically that's a way to like massively recruit people in the fall and just be able to learn about them. But, even if you don't register for a club in the fall, you can still get involved in, the spring. There's a kind of miniature version of it in Houston Hall since it's in January. And I would also say that there's a lot of programs and initiatives and clubs that you kind of just naturally learn about when you're on like listservs for particular other clubs. So like if you're on the career services listserv or like a major listserv, you might learn of specific programs or internships or research opportunities that are specifically oriented to those students with those interests. But I think a lot of them can just come through self-motivation. So for instance, my work in the cognitive neuroscience lab actually stemmed from the fact that first semester freshman year, I took a class where the PI of the lab that I worked in was a professor. So I actually talked to the TA of that class and I was like, hey, I'm really interested in the research that you do afterwards. And so this was like in December after the semester had ended. And unfortunately, I was able to take on the research assistant role beginning that following February. So it's something that I've also been involved with, pretty much since early in freshman year. So I would say just be proactive about kind of the things that you're interested in and don't hesitate to like reach out to professors or PIs or postdocs that, whose research you might be interested in at Penn or at any of the surrounding facilities. Like I mentioned, the Center for Public Health Initiatives, like the Center for Health Economics or the Wharton School, the nursing school, people in engineering. I mean, there's a whole variety of people and projects that you can be involved in at Penn. Along those lines, I think there is definitely, I have a lot of friends who are also involved in Greek life, and I think that's something that's amazing for the students that are involved with that, and they're super passionate about it. I personally am not on any of the clubs dealing with Greek life, but I know that there are, for instance, pre-professional fraternities and sororities, so dedicated to business, law, pre-health, pre-med, things like that, as well as like more charity-oriented Greek life organizations, and then finally, your traditional kind of fraternities and sororities too. So my roommates, actually, two of which are involved with one of those. So I know that's something that they're really passionate about. And I would say for FGLI students, there are definitely ways and opportunities to get, source funding for those kinds of things. I personally am not aware of the details of that, so I don't want to give out any false information. But just know that that is a way to be engaged at Penn, and the people that are in it, I know, love it. But it's definitely not the only way to be socially engaged and to, have a group of community or a friends that you would like to hang around. There's plenty of other clubs and communities and groups of students that you can be involved with. So as far as dining and housing goes, I would say that there's flexibility within those two as well. I'm not sure of the details of all the dining plans and the housing plans. The new changes are that all first and second year students are going to be required to live on campus, and first year students are required to be on dining plans. So I personally, as a FGLI student, have chosen to remain on campus all the years that I've been here and plan to continue to do that, as well as remain on the dining plan. And that was just a personal preference, but I really enjoyed living on campus. I think I've been closer to my activities, and I, kind of have benefited from the community that like naturally emerges in on-campus housing. But that's not to say that, I think the roommates I'm living with this year, most of them are living off campus. So upperclassmen, a lot of them do move off campus. But again, that's totally a personal choice. And there is also flexibility with student registration and financial services if you do choose to go off campus or off a dining plan. Unfortunately, I don't want to say any like specifics about it just because the individual financial aid situation for students is so different. So personally for me, financial aid was like one of the biggest reasons that I came to Penn. So a couple weeks after I was accepted to Penn, I learned that I received a full outside scholarship to attend, and I was, really grateful for this opportunity. But I found a lot of comfort in knowing that had I even not gotten it, that Penn covered a huge amount of my financial aid needs. So, even without, having an outside scholarship, they covered, 100% of the need that I needed. And it was, my experience with financial aid personally has been really good overall. They have been completely receptive to my needs, receptive to my emails and in-person visits, and are very accommodating to your specific kind of perspectives and kind of situation. So I would say, as far as financial aid goes, Penn has definitely been incredibly gracious and incredibly helpful. But every person's situation is specific, so I would definitely consult them regarding that. So I think overall, my, like, where Penn is, it's nestled in a large city, and I think that was amazing, especially coming in. I really liked that I was able to, walk to Center City, especially coming from a large city like Atlanta. So I really liked having access to this urban environment, but at the same time, it was really nice to have kind of the comfort of Penn's campus as well. It's like, that you have the ability to go out and do things in this urban center if you'd like, whether that be shopping, hanging out with friends, studying in a coffee shop during finals. But it's also really nice to be able to come back to the Penn community and truly be able to call it home. I would say overall, my transition to Penn was challenging. It was hard to get used to the new level of academic rigor. It was hard to, maneuver a path that wasn't maybe conventional for pre-med students, and to, be totally okay with pursuing, like, for instance, the humanities major while being on the pre-med track and kind of balancing that. But I think really the school is about making what you want to do come true. So the advisors, your peers, mentors, professors inherently are there to help you and to help you succeed. And I think despite the challenges or the academic challenges, never once have I felt like I didn't belong as a FGLI student per se. I think that has been one of, the best kind of my involvements on campus. I've really enjoyed working for the FGLI community, advocating and just being a part of this amazing identity. But at the same time, I would say Penn students are, in general, fully supported by resources that are there for them to use. Of course, you have to have a level of self-advocacy for academics or extracurriculars or using these resources. But kind of once you figure that out, once you get into the rhythm of things, it's amazing. And I would just say that overall, it's so far been a really great experience. I'm sad that I wasn't able to finish my spring semester there, and I miss it. But you can really craft it to be your own experience, whatever that means to you. So the engagements are there for you to be involved in. The classes are there for you to choose from, which can often be hard because there's such a great variety. But I think ultimately the experience is truly so flexible and customizable that you're able to, I think really hopefully graduate feeling satisfied with what it was that you endeavored to do at the school. So I have absolutely loved my time there. I'm absolutely looking forward to getting back, and I would love to welcome you on campus in the fall. Thank you so much.